Chris, can you share the origin story of Track Shack?
Yes, I'll try to make it as brief as possible. Founded in 1977. A couple of years later, one of the original three partners wanted out. My father was home from running cross country at Appalachian State up in North Carolina, helping them manage the store. And I think he was 20 at the time, or maybe just turned 21, got offered that third partner spot. So this was like 79, and bought into the company, became the third partner there. My mom started working there shortly after. They got married in 83. The other two original owners wanted out, and they bought them out then. So a lot of people, I think the history goes of the Hughes family starting it. Wasn't technically in our sole ownership until 83, but my dad was involved in really some capacity from the jump, and a partner since 79. And then obviously has grown from there.
And you started a nonprofit.
We did. We have our Track Shack Youth Foundation that started in 1994, and that's definitely one of the things we're most proud of. That's over $3 million now. That's gone right back to the Central Florida community. Our focus is trying to improve kids' lives through sport and being active. So we work with a lot of really awesome other nonprofits and in that field, and help fund a lot of local track programs and things like that.
How did the nonprofit start, and what was the motivation for its creation?
I mean, it was not to sound like the cliche answer, but it was to want to give back. My parents both went to Winter Park High School. My sister and I both grew up in the Orange County public school system, and so we were very fortunate that Central Florida has been very good to us. The business had been successful, and particularly the event side of things, so all the runs that we put on. As those continued to grow, we were looking for a charitable outlet for some of the funds those races were raising, and starting the nonprofit made it a lot easier to make sure that those funds were going directly to those causes. And yeah, just kind of a thank you to the community that we've benefited from so much, and hoping to, all of us got into the sport and do what we do now because of running affecting us, or sports, but our sport happened to be cross country and track, affecting us positively at a young age. And we wanted to, hopefully help provide that resource to other kids that could benefit from it. It's all sports, really. We don't only fund running programs, but obviously that's a lot of the grant requests that we get.
How do you feel some of these events have transformed local communities, particularly in terms of physical fitness and youth athletes?
Hopefully it's inspired a lot of people to get more fit, but with the kids, it goes beyond even just the Youth Foundation initiatives. Like, we have our Smile Mile every year. That's in March, and we have PE teachers all around kind of the Tri-County area that they plan for the year and get their kids excited for that, and they're trying to run the best mile time they can. So it's hopefully getting them out there, running more miles, wanting to get prepared for that. And then again, through the other programs, whether it be we've done like the Get Aboard program, which provides skateboards for kids in need, especially I think they work with the homeless shelter a lot. We've done Freedom Ride for kids with disabilities getting on horses. So just providing access to, active lifestyle things that these kids wouldn't otherwise be able to see, is hopefully making that impact, and having them want to continue to make those positive lifestyle choices after they finish with those programs.
Can you tell us more about 5Ks, what they are, how they're organized, and why do so many organizations use them for fundraising?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, they're not marathons, first of all. That's just a little kind of internal joke we have, because people that are not familiar with long distance running don't always differentiate the distances, right? So people think that like any road race can be a marathon. A marathon's 26.2 miles, a 5K is 3.1. And so 5K just standing for 5 kilometers. And when you equate that to miles, it's 3.1. I think you see that as the predominant distance for fundraising because it's very achievable. Most people can go out and run 1 mile, and even if that's exhausting, if they do that every day for a few months, to build it to 2, to build it to 3 is possible. Every event we do is open to all ability levels, and you don't have to run it. You can come and be a walker as well. And you see that with most of your charity 5Ks also. And I think anything that's just encouraging people where they're getting that sense of accomplishment afterwards, they feel like they've done something healthy and positive for their life. And then if it's supporting a cause at the same time, it's such a win-win. So I think it's just one of those things that people are drawn to, and so it becomes a great fundraising tool because you're going to have that pool, and in particular, like I said, if the cause is something that a lot of people are going to get behind, it's an achievable distance, and you have that really positive feeling that you've accomplished something for your own fitness, but also that the money you spent to be there is going to a good cause. Like, everyone feels good after something like that.
How does the fundraising work with a 5K?
It's all relative, right? And there's very small 5Ks you might see at like a Blue Jacket Park where they kind of just do it on the path there. So you're limiting costs as far as having to shut down roads and things of that nature. And then you'll have things up to our Orlando half marathon, where we're shutting down, 13.1 miles of city streets, which is a slightly bigger endeavor. But those funds are going to be coming from the entry fees that the participants pay, as well as obviously you bring in sponsor money, and then every race structures things differently. But essentially we kind of have a certain goal amount for every race that we want to fundraise. Obviously you're still running a business, but in addition to those costs on the business side, those leftover funds that you do have between the sponsor money that's raised there and then the race entry fees, that goes into a pool that then goes into our youth foundation, and then from there that's voted on quarterly with the grant requests that they get. So that's ours personally how it works. Again, there's others that it's the majority of the entry fees go straight to it, or they might have special sponsors that are targeted just to go to the nonprofit. Everyone's kind of cost and donation structure varies depending on if it's just a one-off charity event or an event management company like ours where we're producing events year round. But for us, every one of the 15 plus events we own, it's really important that we have a percentage of the proceeds going to the foundation no matter what.
Could you discuss some partnerships with charities that Track Shack has fostered?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a couple I know I've touched on earlier. Freedom Ride is one that was really awesome. Again, helping kids with various disabilities get on horseback. They get a board for at need and at risk kids getting skateboards. There is, I don't know if there's a nonprofit at least track club in town that we haven't helped buy, whether it's jerseys, hurdles, whatever it might be, and school programs even too. When I was at Howard Middle School and at Edgewater on both of those track teams, actually the teams that I was on, ended up receiving equipment from our foundation, not because I was on the team at the time. That was just coincidence, truly. But that made such an impact on me at a young age, to actually be on a team that needed equipment and see that our foundation was able to help with that. Paramore Kid Zone is a group that we've helped with in the past as well. And if anyone's listening and has, an organization where your goal is athletics or just positive active lifestyle choices for kids that needs funding, absolutely go to our website, look at how to apply for a grant, and there's hundreds of more groups I could list, but those are some just off the top of my head that stand out because we've heard such great stories from some of the kids within the programs.
Have you witnessed any life-changing stories that have emerged from these activities?
Yeah, absolutely. I know a friend of mine who's on our foundation board spoke recently at Victory Cup, and there was a story about a young man, I believe was about 8 years old, and just had zero confidence in school and was struggling with doing presentations with his schoolwork, and got involved in his school's run club that the foundation sponsored, and feedback from his teachers, parents, was all that it was just a total 180. The schoolwork got better, his interactions with peers, and that's not always going to happen every time a kid starts to run, but that was a really cool story. I think the highest profile one that I can think of, and it kind of ties a little bit back to that last question about that long-term community impact. There's a woman named Jenny Simpson. It was Jenny Behringer when she was in high school and in middle school. She ran for Oviedo High School and ran for, I forget what middle school she was at, but they had a club cross-country program that our youth foundation helped fund, and she got all her shoes at Track Shack going back to being in 7th, 8th grade. Multi-time state champion, was just an absolute phenom track and cross-country runner. Went on to be a world champion. She, in 2011, won the 1,500-meter world championships in South Korea, got a bronze medal in the 2016 Rio Games, and then now is actually moving from the 1,500 meters. She's now moving up to trying to compete at the marathon level. So her debut to try and make the U.S. marathon team is going to be right here in downtown Orlando, where we are hosting the 2024 Olympic Marathon Trials. So it's just such a cool full circle story. This girl became an Olympian. She trains in Colorado where she went to college, but is coming back to make her, high-level competitive marathon debut in the Olympic trials that we happen to be lucky enough to host with the city. And she's also been kind enough to come speak at a number of our fundraising events for our youth foundation. So that's that true direct, someone who was in that program and then came back, as a speaker to help us raise funds years later. Just a really cool story.
For those interested in taking up running but don't know where to start, what advice and resources can you offer to help them get off on the right foot?
The advice will sound corny, but it's true. It's one foot in front of the next, right? And if it's you get to the end of the block and you need to take a walking break and catch your breath, then do that. And then see if you can get to the end of the next block. And if you do that, take a rest day. You don't have to always go back to back and beat your body up, but you do that enough times in a week, then by that third week, fourth week, fifth, you'll notice that those breaks are getting less frequent, right? Your body's adjusting to it. But in terms of resources, if you want some more hands-on coaching with that, we actually have a program called Zero to Fit, and it's for people that may be able to run a little bit or may really only be able to walk and want to work up to being able to run that first 5K. And that's something we actually have coaches meeting with them twice a week and helping coordinate plans to get them on that right path to, be able to accomplish that 5K. And we have people that have started with that program and gone on to run multiple marathons. So it's really cool.
I do have an activity here that might help give people some advice on how to get started. I'm going to show you some images, and you tell me how this can fit into their training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the first one.
All right. Well, tying their shoes. So proper footwear. That seems like a missed opportunity not to plug that we do gait analysis at the store and can analyze the way you walk and run and find the shoes that will sort of reduce the chance of injury and have you running as efficiently and effectively as possible. So that makes a huge difference. We like to say shoes are a lot less expensive than an x-ray at the orthopedist office. So definitely want to make sure you have the proper gear. And then we've got shoes and apparel as well. So you want to make sure that you've got the right gear when you're out there beyond just the shoes, working your way up. You don't necessarily want to be in like your baggy gym shorts from high school and a cotton t-shirt, especially in this Florida humidity. There is technical run gear that breathes a lot better, dries better, and gets you a little less stinky, doesn't rub and chafe on the body as much. So the gear is definitely important, and that's certainly all stuff that we can help you get fit effectively for at the store. This is one I could be better about, this diet. Eating well is absolutely, especially we've seen some incredible, weight loss journeys with people in our store, and it's almost always slightly higher percentage of what changes in the kitchen than what changes with the exercise. Exercise is huge, but if you're eating effectively, you just have more energy, you sleep better, you feel healthier, and it makes that output when you are exercising that much easier. And that's not something we necessarily have a ton of hands-on resources for at the store, but we do partner with a number of nutritionists and can always steer someone towards a nutritionist dietitian that can help get them on the right path for that. And you got to drink water. I was talking about the humidity and the proper clothing in Florida, but if you're not hydrating, that is the biggest no-no you could ever make. And it always, if anyone ever did high school sports in Florida, you probably had a coach that told you it starts before practice. Once you start cramping up, it's too late. So you want to drink that water always throughout the day. Maybe mix in some electrolytes. We have a little catchphrase at the store. We say hydrate or dihydrate, especially in this Florida heat. Yeah, you got to drink that water. And having a plan is huge. So that Zero to Fit I talked about is a program you can enroll in where we kind of help write that plan for you. And there's coaches that are getting you on your way, but there's other online resources for that. You may have a friend who's done a similar journey and can help you get on the way by just kind of mapping out which days per week you want to run, cross-train, rest. But if you have that calendar and something you can cross off each day, that accountability of I did that, my mile with a walk break today, or I did the 2 miles, 3 miles, whatever we're working up towards. It's a feeling of accomplishment when you cross it off, but it's a sense of accountability to make sure that you're actually doing it every day and signing up for a race sometimes too. Even people who train regularly, if their training hits a little lull, if you actually commit to that event that you're really putting your effort into, it tends to really motivate the training on those days where sometimes it's just harder to get out of bed than others, right? But having that goal and those days circled on the calendar is huge. All right, well, if my diet could get better, my stretching could definitely get better. But so this is a do as I say, not as I do, because my legs are always tighter than they should be, but I know it's because I am not taking my own advice. You can't stretch enough. Stretch before you run. The best time is after, because your muscles are looser. You can get a little bit of a deeper stretch without risk of kind of overdoing it. But recovery is just as, if not more important than the training itself. You can log all the intense mileage in the world, but if you're not letting your body recover, it's just going to wear you out eventually.
And the final one.
Having a buddy is huge, right? So a training program is one thing, but if you have that 3-mile run that you're supposed to do on Tuesday circled in your calendar, but you're not meeting anyone to do it, you might still hit that snooze button. But if you've got 3 or 4 friends, or even just one who is going to be there that you're supposed to meet, there's nothing more motivating. And not only is that accountability, it gets you out of bed to go, okay, I have to do the run today because I'm meeting my friend. But then you get out there and you can have a conversation with them during the run or grab coffee after. So even when you don't necessarily want to be there, it can end up becoming this really fun activity to do with the people in your life. So yeah, having a training partner or a training group is everything. I can't stress that enough. And again, opportunities for whether it's introductory at Zero to Fit, we have our 5 and Dime is for folks trying to kind of run the 5 and 10K more competitively, and Marathon Fest is for those folks doing longer distances. Those are our groups you can actually enroll in, through our training programs. But again, if you are doing it on your own, just find a friend, sign up for a race together, and hold each other accountable.
Well, thank you so much. This was very informative, and
good.
I love your tips.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you so much for having us. We're honored.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for everything you do for the city.
If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts.